Hello, and thanks for joining us on this very first offering of In Conversation with me, Emeka Madnago on Enterprise TV. My guest today is a cerebral Nigerian lawyer and activist, one whose close friends call a seeker of the unknown, but nonetheless a philosopher of his own kind. In his quest to seek out a better world, he has deployed the art of writing as a potent weapon for social change. His novel, The Gathering of the Tribes, is more than a riveting mirror on the contradictions that have kept his country from reaching for the stars more than 60 years after independence. Now, certainly not a new face on the screen, but it's our delight to have Evans Ufeli on the program. All right, it's certainly not every day you have a peep into a writer's imagination. But today is one of those days we'll use that privilege. Evans Ufeli, you're welcome.
Thank you.
It's a great pleasure to engage someone known as a seeker of the unknown. What exactly would make a lawyer to seek the unknown? Because it's believed that lawyers, know so much about what so many of us don't know.
Yes, I got that appellation or that name from friends who had asked questions all through my days in school. In the University of Jos, I was full of questions. I had little answers. So they christened me the seeker of the unknown, because even when I find people with the answers are never enough. So it looks like the world keep pouring questions at me. And what I do is to take those questions out there, looking for or seeking for those who can find what I should know. And some of those questions actually don't have answers.
It's just like
William Wordsworth, William Wordsworth wrote this poem, "The world is too much with us. Getting and spending will lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that's ours." The mind the imagination keeps boiling. So that quest for knowledge, which leads to inquiries, I was stuck in that. And you know what? Just like a conference, an unscripted conference, my friend just came together and said, "You know what? You are the seeker of the unknown."
As a lawyer, you write briefs, you write legal advice, writing, constant writing is, a necessary part of the legal profession. So, would you now say that writing is a road to the unknown or a road from the unknown?
Both. Writing could be a road from the known to the unknown, or from the unknown to the known. Because when you put your imagination to work, you generate energy, what they call the cosmic administration of the universe. And the energy you generate there is what births the answers to what you seek. And for that of law, as against that of literary writing, is that the laws are codified. So you search for them, you go for the statute, you go for all the materials, the acts, and all that. You know where you can go for them, the case laws, the judicial precedents. You can always enmesh yourself with, the repository of what we have in the legal place. But for literary writing, society is posing questions at your mind. Your imagination is generating. There are answers and more questions. Okay, so you walk through all that. So when you look at it from both ends, sometimes you start out with the unknown into the known. And sometimes you start out with the known into the unknown. It depends on how the universe works.
So that means literature is a thing of consequence for a writer such as you are?
Of course, because literature mirrors life. I mean, what you even do in the law court is literature. That is why you cannot even qualify to study law if you don't have a good knowledge and a past credit
absolutely.
in literature. So you set their agenda is a whole lot.
So diving into your book, The Gathering of the Tribes, did you just wake up one day to decide on this title?
No, I went for a procession of those who lost their lives in Rwanda based on the Hutus and
The Tutsis.
the Tutsis.
Yes.
That tribal conflict that created a conflagration that left a lot of people dead. That procession happened in Yola, and I was at Yola that day at the Atiku University, American University. So on that procession, I was ruminating about the tribes of men and how people have been made to exist under tribes. Okay, being the first point of call. You know, before colonial inquest and the original civilization of man had its roots in tribes.
Tribes, yes.
Okay, before, colonialism came, the Berlin Conference happened, colonialism came, then Africa was balkanized, and the Europeans came, the Britons came to Africa. Then, what we discovered thereafter was they recreated this space, okay? They recreated it and created something different for us and asked us to come out from our tribes and embrace a bigger dream, a vision, okay, which they call nationhood, countryhood. They christened it, okay, and told us that with legislation, constitutions, and statutes, we have a better opportunity to fuse into one big dream and birth development, civilization, and upliftment. So we bought into that. Okay, it was when that failed that people started running back to their tribe.
To their tribes.
Yeah, because once countryhood fails, people recline to their tribe because the tribe is a natural enemy of the state. The tribe will never cease to be jealous. So the book is titled The Gathering of the Tribes. It's a call, okay? It's a call to tribesmen to come together and fight collectively their demons, the things that militate against their growth, which usually are, human habits like greed, okay, stealing, okay, lack of unity. When you put all those virtues together, dishonesty, all those issues together, you find that people are not able to rise above or rise to their potentials because of the habits that some persons have developed over the years that deflates the seeming success of others. So in the Okwane culture, we say Igwebike. Igwebike means when people are more, that is strength. And when they are together in unison, that is strength. So the Gathering of the Tribes means it is at that same procession that a speech was made, okay, by one prominent Nigerian. And he went further to say that in gatherings like this, we are of different religion, different tribes and all that. He said, but it is in the gathering, when the trumpet is blown, okay, it brings a gathering of tribes. So if you look at it from the standpoint of one tribe, from the standpoint of a nation, from the standpoint of everything, whether nation, whether tribe, whether minority, whether it's like when Paul the Apostle said in Galatians that there are neither Gentiles nor Jews. Okay, but there's a fusion now because of the death and burial of Christ that brought remission of sin, that have, made the curve flat. So in this case, you now have everyone coming together. That's what I say tribesmen are the characters in that book.
So, but in this case, is it that you're replacing patriots with tribesmen?
Yeah, it can be used that interchangeably. Yeah, because if you look at the story, those who were the patriots who began the journey for ecclesiastical redemption, you understand? They refer to themselves as tribesmen. Okay,
united by the commonality of
like minds. Like minds who believe that it is better for tribesmen to come together and collectively achieve their goals than for their leaders, to deceive the larger society, and take what belongs to them, pretend to be with them, swindle them, and outsmart them at all costs and at all times. And when you look at Africa, whether it's Hittitism, whether it's corruption, whether it's greed, call it political instability, economic downturn, all are the trappings of lack of tribesmen or lack of the ideology of tribesmen.
Yeah, but your book plays heavily on the constant conflict between those who govern and the governed.
Yes.
Is it that you think, in putting this book together, you try to play out that concept that the conflict will never end?
Oh, not like the conflict will never end. In the book, we saw how the conflict ended and the larger society won.
Yeah, but in the book, it said that, one of the major characters, Chief Onyon,
yes,
he was defeated, but he never came around to becoming one of the patriots.
Yeah, he never.
Is it that these leaders, they constantly are unable to transform?
They are unable to integrate, reintegrate themselves.
Yes.
We have them in the country.
Yeah.
They, those who have led the country in the past, not many of them have been able to integrate back to the larger society. Except for a few of them. Many of them are living in regrets of what they ought to have done, they did not do, or what they ought not to have done that they did. Looking at the Nigerian history, we have repeated stories of that. Okay, so Chief Uyonu represents one of those leaders, those political big wigs that will deceive the people. The Expador is a company that operated in the land and had paid a huge amount of money to these leaders.
Okay.
But the people live in squalor. They deceive the people that they've not earned money. They put the people in arm's way. There are no social amenities. The people struggle, and these leaders keep them like that and keep lying to them. Okay, up until when some bright minds, more like the revolutionaries, started their struggle to, dismantle that monster that the people have allowed to overshadow them by their lack of resistance, and by the fact that the seeming leaders are the ones who have the socio-economic power, and they are the ones who are able to interface with foreign agents and bodies on behalf of the people and swindle the people.
But in some portions of your book, it's like it validates the saying that a people get the leaders they deserve.
Very well.
Because even though the awareness was being pushed by Ike, his son, Nze, his friend, Nduka, but towards election time, the people still collected rice and salt.
Yes.
Even with the awareness that they had been cheated.
Yes.
For a long time.
Yes.
So where What do you think is responsible for this seeming conflict of values?
Yeah, you see, the people will always be the people. You understand? As a leader, if you're not conscious of the people and their construct, their understanding of things and how things they shouldn't do, things they should forbid that you find them doing, if you are not careful, you will run out of sanity. It's part of the reason why some biblical characters didn't make it to the promised land, because the people had to frustrate them to a point where they are not able to do the right thing. And if you look at that book, even though they have made up their minds, okay, that they are all going to go from there, okay, but they find the persons who have also made this resolve, okay, they find it difficult to resist the seduction of survival. They all caved in and collected, okay, gratification, collected a lot of things. And when they collected this thing and defiled themselves, they still came out to perform their civic responsibility. You understand? But it's not a proud one. But the Guardian of the Tribes is a fiction based on fact. You have fiction based on fact, and you can have pure fiction, you have quasi-fiction. This one is based on fact.
Yes, so I was going to come to that.
It's more of a symbolism.
Yeah.
The book speaks to Africa, it speaks to Nigeria, it speaks to a lot of countries where you find endemic corruption, malpractice, malfeasance, and all that. So you find it resonates. So I am writing for Africa. I am daily and constantly in contact with what I'm writing. I'm not writing from my head. I'm writing from my feelings, from my skin. It is about our state of affairs. It's about our condition. Unfortunately so. Okay. And in the book, I provided an answer to the problem. If you read the book carefully, you see how Amaka dealt with insurgents. Okay, he comes across.
But that was sort of brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal because Amaka was a victim of rape. Okay, from these same people, and he clandestinely, surreptitiously designed her revenge.
Okay. And walked into the night.
Yes, he walked into the night, disappeared, got to a location, disguised, changed into something else, and began a trade from where she gathered momentum and carried out one of the bloodiest attacks you ever find in any fiction material. And that weakened the forces that the leaders wanted to use for the election. Because the insurgents there were the ones whom the leaders were interfacing with and had deployed all materials they need. But on the day they are going to carry out that attack, the timeline they're going to carry out that attack, Amaka struck.
Yeah, no.
And the chances of Nze increased. Yeah. Because they would have destroyed the process and turn it around.
Yeah, but taking the book back to the beginning, you raise the issue of trust on page 20, where you said it's her communal existence that lays the foundation of trust, such that today, when the politicians cheat and loot their resources, nobody believes it or challenges them. So whose duty is it to build that trust? If the people are comfortable, like in the case of Agnese, if the people are comfortable with their everyday existence, even though they can see clearly that the politicians are lying to them, the politicians are having a jolly time, while they are wallowing in poverty. So whose responsibility is it to build that trust?
Every society has 3 classes of persons. One class is the ones that they are not happy with the status quo. They are not happy with the system, but they don't know how to challenge it. The second class, they are not happy with the system and they know what to do to challenge it. They are few. They are the educated, middle class, sub-middle class. Then there's another class, the third class, that are happy with the condition a country is because it feeds their greed and it feeds their profligacy. And that is how the Nigerian state is too. The lowest cadre, the protectorates, are not happy with the way they are led, but they don't have the intellectual, socio-economic capacity and power to question the status quo. The middle class or middle class have developed that capacity by education, by exposure, and by travel. They are the ones that started the NSAS. Okay? Before the lower class came and infiltrated it, and you saw it when they came in. Then you now have the higher class who are comfortable with the system, the way it is, such that when the second class questions them and drop backward to use the lower class to add momentum to the struggle, the higher class have a way of attacking back by recruiting some of the lower class to counter-challenge what the middle class have joined hands with the lower class to do.
Yeah,
but find it.
But in this case, a member of that ruling class, Ike, started off the momentum of change. So do you think, for real change to come about, there must be some, do I call it, compassionate members of the ruling class who are ready to say no, things shouldn't be this way?
Ike will not necessarily from the ruling class. He has a foreign exposure.
Educated,
yes.
Foreign educated,
yes.
Sophisticated,
yes.
And all of that.
When he came,
part of the intelligentsia,
yes.
Which in Nigeria you find very educated people,
yes.
who are we're not necessarily part of the not necessarily in the ruling class,
yes,
but they aid the ruling class.
They aid the ruling class, but he chose not to, because when he was made the leader of the development committee of the community, he now found out the lapses. Before now, he ruminates in his own thought. When he was introduced in the book, how he has developed high blood pressure as he slushes into clinical depression. His soul is being tormented by the seeming negligence and breakdown, of things in his society. So he started this revolution by questioning the political leaders themselves, the ones that really represent the people. And there were a lot of resistance and opposition. Those guys fought back. They offered him bribe, he didn't take it, and they started attacking him and all that. And his son joined the fray, talking about apple not falling too far from the tree. And he co-opts his own class, because the truth about the learned and intelligentsia is that it rubs off on their offspring. Because having seen the light, they transmit same to their offspring. So their offspring have the same. So that's how they and the rest, took it up and flagged off a campaign, and began to oppose the ruling class. It was a tough battle, because if what you've got is hope, and you are selling the future to people who are susceptible to collecting gratification, you are not in a very good place. And that is how this society is. When you come out to sell hope to them, to sell the future, to let them know that there's a bigger dream better than stomach infrastructure, or that we have something better than what you are offered, most of them will not buy. Some will be laughing at you. Some will say, if you cannot beat them, you join them mentality. That kind of mentality, kills the dream of the man who desires a better future. That is why, when this book was written, our projection was to put it in the hands of 40 million Nigerians. Because it's not just fiction, it is prophetic. It's a message that comes with a lot of information that can ignite a change. So the idea is that it is spread far and wide, and then people are able to pick. You can pick, very good morals to run with there, and then make a change anywhere in the world where things are not all right.
Yeah, one interesting thing about the book is that you find this clash between tradition and modernity.
Yes.
You know, you introduce, to just, a regular, town, Anieze, regular and all of that, But you now begin to see infusions of, modernity, TV, radio, newspapers. And then you are forced to say, what? Was there more to this story than the way it was introduced? So, and then you find that the older class relied so much on tradition because they went to the shrine, they took an oath. But the younger generation, typified by Nze, who spied on them, and apparently took off, at a tangent on his own, How were you able to marry these two, these different
the book,
scenarios?
The book is set in my village, Etwa, in Delta State, local government area. Yes, and I travel home regularly and I listen to people. And I discovered that the older generation are cling to their old ways. Even when they want to change things, they rather rely on what they can trust, the mediums they can trust, the platforms they can trust. The old generation, if they want to cause change, they will not tell you about Twitter. They will call a town crier. So, take the agogo and go to the market square and hit the agogo there and pass information. They will not tweet it, they will not type it. But there's a generation that is their offspring that have access to modern technology. Okay, and they're able to put that. And in the place of the clash of culture you talk about, I introduced the masquerade, the Okwacha festival, and all the festivals.
The people had their regular way of life.
The farm produce, their sojourn, all their kind of and all that.
Their productivity.
But the place where culture and clash was, I introduced what they call the Umumo. Umumo in English means the children of spirits. In my village in Etra, where I came from, this Umumo, anytime there is an information that there are criminals around the village, there are some old men in the night that will take on the image of spirits. Okay, white and white, and once they blow their trumpet and hit their drums, everybody will go inside because it's an indication that there are foreign bodies in the community, and they used to sing, dance till daybreak. You understand? So one day, these Umumo people had their activity. That night was the night that Puze died. Okay, Puze died that night. So when Puze died that night, the police came the next day and said, when they were investigating what has happened, they got to a point where they were informed that the Umumo came out overnight. They now say, okay, what they will do is that they have to arrest all the Umumo.
All the men,
So, but the community now told them that they are spirits. You can't arrest spirits. So they kept on saying they are going to arrest spirits. The community said, no, you can't do that. Spirits cannot be arrested. So you find the Western culture, which is a type of the police, and the Etwa culture, which is a type of the spirits, clashing. Just like in Eleshioba's, in Wole Soyinka's Death and the King's Horseman, where they had to put someone to death. The Eleshioba has to die after the king died on a particular day, and that particular day was supposed to take his life. Before then, the white men arrested him and put him in prison as barbaric to commit suicide. But it's a long-standing tradition. So that's the clash I brought there. And to look at the fact that even when people are oppressed, it does not stop them from going to their farms, going to the streams and all that. Even when they are shortchanged, they carry on up until they find the Messiah. Sometimes the Messiah never comes. So that is exactly what that. So Nze and his cohort were the ones who actually championed the cause of change.
So do you think, the Nigerian diaspora has done its bits well enough, to weigh in on the situation in the country like Ike?
Yeah, the Nigerian diaspora, to be fair to them, they are very conscious of what is going on back home. Very conscious. I travel a lot to the US, to the UK, I've seen how conscious they are. They don't even watch the foreign media. They don't follow the foreign media that much. It's the Nigerian media, they want to know at every point. And if you look at their intervention, because of the kind of government we have, their intervention in terms of diaspora remittance, I mean, kudos to them.
Yes.
Kudos to Nigerians in diaspora. It's a pure case of a man who has traveled, and he traveled and took home along with him. Many families today subsist because of diaspora remittance. Okay, so that's well, they can do more. They can do more by, during the NSAS, they also assist them in funding activities going on. Okay, but just as unfortunate that they cannot vote from where they are. And this conversation is ongoing that if they contribute this much economically and the government recognizes it, and if they have a huge influence on back home here, why would you not open the way for them to exercise their franchise wherever they are in the world? So I believe we'll get to that point. Okay, I think some time ago they opened the JAMB exam to Nigerians in diaspora. They can then write JAMB from wherever they are. Okay, we'll get to that point too. Some time ago, it was not possible to write JAMB from diaspora, but today you can do that. So we will get there, and I think that the more Nigerians yearn that they want to live and eventually leave the shores of this country, there's that Nigerianness, that thing that always prick them to keep home. And they've done that. They will do more if they have more privileges. They will do more if we inculcate them more in what we do here. They will do more, they will fund, they will come out. Some of them will return. Those that want to return will return, and they will join us in the struggle to make Nigeria a better place. I have seen that happen, okay? Ike is one of those, was in the diaspora before he returned. All his influences were foreign influences that made him dissatisfied with the condition of things. And from him, the dream, began, and the son took it over, called his friends, like minds. And before you know it, they defied the odds and took over. So, and the community became better off as a result of their intervention. Every society, you don't need the whole number of people to change things. You need a few persons who will start the change, and others will take it on. And that is how society changes.
So do you think modernity should necessarily take over tradition? Because you found that constant, clash between modernity and, tradition. And you found out that Chief Onyong tried to play on that, when he was telling Chief Ike, we need to investigate your roots. We need to really be sure where you came from. The fact that you have been abroad doesn't mean you know better than us. And all of that. And even the killing of the priest.
Yes.
The killing of the priest was like, this, was an agent of something imposed on us from outside.
Yes.
So, do you think it has come to a point where tradition should gradually give way to modernity?
No, modernity have its place and tradition have its place. Okay. In countries where they have tried to take down tradition, they have run into problems. Okay. There are countries today where to get married is about just 10 minutes. And to get divorced is about 20 minutes. So in those countries, they have repressed tradition to a point where modernity has become another monster. They've created another monster trying to repress tradition. So I think tradition should have its place. Tradition like the Umumo, the Yam Festival, okay, the masquerade and the socio-cultural display of culture and the ambience of society that add color to living, that that is, that give us that ambience of peace. We should retain those. The ones that are barbaric, that have not passed through the validity test and the repugnancy test, should give way. Those ones that are, that have some sprinkles of cannibalism and, things, inexplicable, immoral things that we cannot fully explain, should give way. But the ones that have the semblance of, the condition of peace, the underlying factor there's peace. The human condition must not be eroded by human practices. So those ones can subsist. That is why, as much as there's problem in the society, you notice that the Kwacha festival and some of those other display, doused the tension. People were able to relax despite their problem. Okay. If a society is skewed in a way that they wake up to problem every day, and problem is the only thing they talk about, eat, drink, one day, people will wake up and discover that there will be no more human beings in that society. Because everybody would have been forced into extinction.
Yeah, there was that realization by Nze when he and one of his friends stayed away.
Yes.
For one of the festivals.
Yes.
So was it like that youthful, impression that why are we always just so happy-go-lucky people?
Yes.
That we ought to spend more time,
Yes. They
thinking about our condition.
They stayed back and strategized on how they are going to start up their revolutionary move. And they did it so well that before the adherents of the festival, before they returned, they had consolidated, on what to do. And they had even gone ahead to, create avenues for which they are going to apply all they have to do in society. So they were able to defeat the bad guys, and they're able to defeat the leaders who are cheating them and all that based on that strategy. So wherever you want to change the course of humanity, it comes with thinking, it comes with plan, it comes with a lot of, putting together of strategy to have it done. That's exactly what that symbolizes.
Yeah, so what's unique about your treatment of this conflict? Because you find African writers, they deal with this theme regular basis, this conflicts. What's unique about your own treatment?
Yeah, you cannot, the essence of literary discussion is conflict. Conflict is what sustains. I mean, if you read a book and at the 5th chapter of the book, conflict has not arisen, and that means that is not a book, because life is about conflict. Okay, from one conflict to the other, when you come out victorious, you celebrate your victory. When you have lacerations and injuries, you nurse your wound. More like profit and loss. Then you kick on. So you see, conflict arose the moment Ike was appointed the chairman of the development committee. Then his eyes opened. Before that time, he had been thinking, ruminating on his misfortune. Why he's placed like this? He got closer to power and he saw it. And the politicians thought they could buy him over easily. They made attempts to do so. So that conflict rose, rub off on his children. And two of his, Amaka and Nze, were master strategists. If you look at it, they are the ones who really killed the war. Okay. The conflict rose to the point where he was arrested, incarcerated. They went to court. He was represented in court, and so many issues. The society began to taste real tragedy, okay, which boiled up to the point where we got to what they call climax.
Yeah.
And from the climax, we saw how insurgency and the rest of them were decimated. So the strongholds on society left uneasy, and the entrenchment of peace and tranquility took over the day when the bad guys had been displaced.
Okay, so you said earlier that you want this book in the hands of 40 million Nigerians.
Yes.
That's quite a big target. How do you intend to achieve that? That is one. And then secondly, in that 40 million Nigerians, who is your primary target?
Yeah, the primary target actually the youths and between the ages of those between the ages of 18 to 45. That bracket will have over 120 million people in Nigeria, and 40 million will be like a fraction of it, because not everyone can assimilate at the frequency, and not everyone is actually needed for the change, the coming change, okay, the intellectual change, and that change that will reflect on our behavior. If you look at Nze, look at his cohorts that all bat that change, Puze and the rest of them. They were not people that defecate on the expressway.
No.
Yes, they were disciplined people whom they were conscious of their contribution to the growth of society. You see, that is what we need to get right in this country.
Yeah. People
are not conscious of their contribution to the growth of society. Rather, they are busy depleting facilities and engaging in open defecation and engaging in all kinds of miscreant activities. But these ones, even when there was a festival, they denied themselves of the pleasure to plan for a better future. That is what we're saying. If Nigerians can all sacrifice and say, you know what, we are going to cut down on our indulgences on pleasure and save up to change our future. Okay, the government will have no choice, because then we would have pushed the message home rightly. So, on the part of the people, you could see from the story that the people had to own their lives, okay, and they have to develop a concept because they cannot remain where they are before the government was forced into it. Because if you don't have any vision, any goal that you are driving, you are asking government to do things right and they're not doing it right, and you have nothing for which you are running with, there is nothing you have that you're going to cave them into. So they will continue in their old ways.
Yeah, so speaking of climax, the way you move the book from climax to denouement, let me just read the last two paragraphs. Said, Nduka, standing beside him, also remembered Puze and all the struggles they had to go through to get here. Now the last line says, this is just the beginning. And Yeze Etwa is on a path to revealing to the world the gem she really is. Why was that? And then a quick follow-up. Are we expecting a sequel to this?
Yeah, I have other maths. This is actually a complete
standalone.
Yes. But I have written 3 others, unpublished, completed, edited. 3 others, okay? But I'm waiting for the right time to have them published. It's not easy to publish in Nigeria. You spend a lot of money to publish, and then
piracy.
Yes, piracy kicks in. Then you supply to the bookshops. Sometimes they are not delivering. Just this afternoon, I was talking to one of my agents. He said he went to meet one of the booksellers. The old man told him that he wants to come and see me. My agent said, no, where are the books? He said, water has touched some. Oh. I said, he has sold it and he has spent the money. He said, no, he's coming to see me because from the same village. I said, he should come with the books or the money. So the same problem we're talking about. People should be disciplined. Society should be disciplined. Apart from the fact that it's on Amazon, and it's used in many countries, many universities across. It's read in many universities.
9 languages.
It's in 9 languages, including the Chinese language. So people can go to Amazon and all that. It's also in the bookshops across Nigeria. Not so much in the US or the UK, but we'll get them across. It was in bookshops in the US and the UK when it newly came out, when I published it newly and sold out. The book has done well, considerably, but we need to do more to put it in the hands of more people, and then to have it in the curriculums of schools, okay, so that schools can recommend it for their pupils, students, And even in Nigerian universities, people will need to read this book as much as they can.
Yeah, so who are your model authors, your influences? Because one review said you belong to the John Grisham line of thought.
Well, yes, somebody did a review of it, and because I'm a lawyer, and John Grisham is a lawyer and he writes, so legal literature and all that. But I write rural literature. I am so comfortable with rural literature. So I like caves.
Okay.
Yes, I like to stay close to nature where I can hear the sounds of the cosmopolitics and all the where I can find natural rhythms, make sounds from the birds of the skies and the mouths of the ground and the hills and all that. So my influences are many. William Shakespeare, definitely one of William Shakespeare. What can be avoided, whose end is proposed by the Almighty. Yes, Caesar shall go forth, for this prediction is made to the world in general, and also Caesar, credited to William Shakespeare. That is for foreign ones. I also Percy Shelley, Lord Alfred Tennyson for poetry. Then Bernard Shaw. Okay, Bernard Shaw. Then for the local authors, Nigerian authors, Chinua Achebe, okay, Of Things Fall Apart, and Cyprian Ekwensi, People of the City, and some other authors, which I'm not tied to. Wole Soyinka, definitely one that, the influence of Wole Soyinka in my writing is incredible and all that.
Yeah, so how much reading do you do on a regular basis?
Well, I don't read law during the weekend. I read law weekdays. Weekends is for my literature and my poetry. I have different brand of wine that I do with poetry. Then when I'm in the village, I do what they call palm wine and poetry. Palm wine mixed with poetry is wonder. It's one of the greatest inventions of mankind is to mix palm wine with poetry. You will find yourself in Elysium, clinical Elysium, no immaculate place that nothing on earth can mix itself with itself to take you there. So I do palm wine and poetry when I'm in the village. Then I visit the rivers, the bush. Sometimes I climb the trees. Like I was telling one of the producers that I need to go and shoot some poetries in the bush, in the stream, where I will jump like monkeys from one tree to the other, and I'll be reciting and chanting my poems and the lines. Okay, those are the things I find joy around that embellishment.
So tell us about your family life, just briefly. What is it like?
Yeah, my family.
How does it influence your writing?
Yes, it does. I have a daughter and a son. Okay, when I was writing The Gathering of the Tribe, I wrote it in 11 Saturdays because I don't have time during the weekdays to write. So, and Sundays occupy. So 11 Saturdays, a chapter every Saturday, and able to tie it up together. But one of the things that happened in this book, I will tell you, is the moment I got to chapter 4 of this book, I could no longer control the characters.
I noticed that.
The characters took over the book from me. I couldn't control them. I had to kill one of the characters to enable me move on with the story. Okay? A writer is like God. You sit down and you evaluate how your characters are doing. You hear them talk to you while you are writing. You hear them, you hear their voices with the characters they've developed over time in the fictive world. And some of them, you see them in your dream, troubling your soul. Some of them, sending forth supplications and intercessions for others to either live or die, and the rest of that. So you are immersed in so much of your characters. I bear my characters in my head when I move. Sometimes the inspiration to put them in certain condition will occur to me when I'm driving. So that when I'm in the bedroom, Sometimes when I find myself in solitary places, something will come up in my imagination. My characters will begin to talk to me from the world of my imagination. I hear their prayers. I don't grant all their prayers. Okay, because I have a line of thought, I have a storyline to deliver. And so I'll push forth until I'm able to come to resolution points where I would have passed my message, using my character to do so. Then whatever is left, they can just, from there, move on with their lives in the fictive world.
So what's your spirituality like? Because in the novel you see God and the gods.
Yes.
Then you talked about, your connection to nature, rivers, palm wine. So where do we situate your spirituality?
Yes, I'm a Christian. Even a theologian, okay? But my concept about God is quite different. I do not see God as one judgmental, supernatural being that is going to take us to hellfire because of our defiance. I don't see God that way. I don't also see God like one person I should be scared of. If he's my father, I should be able to talk to him. I do not also see him as someone who is with a whip standing by my door to ensure that I am praying all day, all night. I am sanctimonious all day, all night. I don't see God that way. I see God from a relaxed point of view, from someone who I can interact with, okay, who will not hold my sins against me or my seeming imperfections against me and all that. That's how I see God. Unfortunately, that's not how the Nigerians see God. The Nigerians believe that you should be shouting all night for God to intervene, or you should be making noise. So I do not really fit proper into this society in the context of faith. I don't. So that is why I have made my own definition of who God is. And being a theologian, having studied God for 3 years, I can as well say that I have a glimpse of what it is like, as against what people will ignorantly make him to look like.
Yeah, so let me just ask a quick one as we coast home. How well has writing paid you? Because you see a lot of writers claim that they just do it out of passion, that it doesn't put money in their pockets.
Well, writing, the Guardian of the Tribe paid in a way, but not as much as I thought, even though I wasn't writing because I want to become rich by writing. Not many writers are rich. In fact, we have more wretched writers walking on the street speaking to themselves than we have rich ones. My legal practice is where I earn my living. Legal practice. I was fortunate in legal practice to be directed to clients that are able to pay for legal services. Whilst I deal with so many that are unable to pay, and I deal with those who also pretend to be paying and they're not paying. So from there I earn my living. Then writing, well, what you put into writing. If you want to publish this size of a book now in Nigeria, say 1,000 copies, you will spend close to 2 million plus to do that. And when you do that, you do book readings. I did book readings in Abuja, Jos, Lagos, Enugu. In fact, NTA Enugu invited me to do a reading. We did an NTA. So I did in 8 states in Nigeria. 8 states. Okay, book reading. There were sales. In Abuja was the highest. In fact, we took copies, we exhausted it, we had to send more. They exhausted it, we sent more again and all that. Abuja did wonders for me. Jos, the same thing. Jos is like my mini home. Okay? I took it to the University of Jos. We did a book reading. They even did a drama of it. Yes, of the Gathering of the Tribes. I pushed it to the best of my ability. But all the same, whilst the book sold, Nigeria will need to do more with intellectual works and encourage people to come out more, and then to, like we had in the past, writing was a thing of pride in the past. You know, people want to reckon with you by virtue of your ability to put down works of art and all that. And not so much today, even though we still have that relics left in our society.
Oh well, it's been so interesting. Even the novel, a whole 137 pages, came to an end. So why not our conversation? This is where we drop anchor today. Thanks, Evans Ufeli, for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Very well.
Hopefully you'll find the unknown someday.
Very well.
Thanks for watching, and do click on the subscribe button for the next episode. See you then. I'm Emeka Madnagu. Bye for now.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.